Turn to regular, been moved and second that we turn to regular session. All in favor? Roll
Ms.
call vote.
Estrop,
Aye.
Mr. Brown,
Aye.
Mr. Conway,
Aye.
Mr. Kane.
Next, we have Resolution 22-53, certification of closed meeting. Pursuant to Virginia Code Section 2.2-3712, the supervisors signing below certify that, to the best of each supervisor's knowledge, one, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements under the Freedom of Information Act, and two, only such public business matters as were identified in the motion by which the closed meeting was convened, were heard, discussed, or considered in the closed meeting of the Greensville County Board of Supervisors.
I move we approve Resolution 22-53 as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and second that we'll approve resolution 23-53. All in favor with a roll call vote.
Ms. Estrop,
Aye.
Mr. Brown,
Aye.
Mr. Kane,
Aye.
Mr. Conway.
Aye.
Next is the approval of the agenda. What's your pleasure?
I move we approve the agenda as submitted.
Second.
Been moved and second that we'll approve the agenda. All in favor? Roll call vote.
Ms. Estrop,
Aye.
Mr. Brown,
Aye.
Mr. Kane, Mr. Conway.
Aye.
Next is the approval of the consent agenda. And before we go through this, I would like to introduce Tamika Green. She is our Director of Finance. She comes to us from Northampton County, North Carolina, and she brings a wealth of knowledge and expertise in the areas of financing and budgeting. So welcome, Mrs. Green.
Welcome aboard.
Welcome.
So the recommendation from the board is to approve the minutes of November 1, 2021, which is attachment 8, the budgetary matters relative to Fund 1, 10, 13, and 18, which is attachment B, and your warrants, attachment C, which is the approval of the accounts payables for November 16, in the amount of $340,000, $725.10, and the approval of the accounts payable for December 6, 2021, in the amount of $227,455.75, and the approval of payroll for November 30th, 2021, in the amount of $640,482.47.
I move we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and second to approve the consent agenda. All in favor with a roll call vote.
Ms. Estrop,
Aye.
Mr. Brown,
Aye.
Mr. Kane, Mr. Conway.
Aye.
Next, item number 7 is items with appointment. Mr. Jerry Key, Assistant Residency Administrator for VDOT.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
In addition to your updates that you have in your package, I have about 6 more that I'm gonna go over with you. We received a request for a speed review for Crescent Drive. I want to know that is currently underway right now. We did update the signs out there already, but I believe the additional request was for additional signs through that area because it's only posted at the beginning and the end. So I think they want some intermediate signs. Our contract mowing for the year has been completed. We are currently working on some cutting back with our crew, but the actual contractor work is complete for the year, for the season. Paving is also complete for the season. Our current maintenance plan, what we've got ongoing is we are reviewing all of our culvert pipes and looking at updating those that need to be done. We've done about 20 some in the last couple of months, but we've got to push on to try to update some drainage. So we're kind of doing that all over the county. We're just reviewing certain roads. We did receive, I know Mr. Conwell asked me at a earlier meeting about doing the cutting back. We did receive a new piece of equipment this week that we will be using to do tree trimming and ditch work. Hopefully I'll have it out to our crew here within a week or two, but it came in on, matter of fact, came in on truck today. So hopefully we'll be using that pretty soon and you'll be seeing some of that work. Let's see. That's all of the updates I had for new stuff. I'll take any concerns anybody has.
I just have one question in reference to the Independence Road project.
Yes, sir.
I understand that's supposed to start sometime next year. Can you give me like a pinpoint about? what
Yes, sir, I
time next
can.
year?
They had to re-advertise the job because the contractor that bid on it had an issue with his bid documents, so they re-advertised it. But the completion date is June 22nd of '22.
Okay.
That's when it'll have to be complete.
22.
22, yep.
I brought one area up a couple meetings back on Allen Road, just north of Meadowbank,
Mhm.
in the curve where the edge of the road is deteriorated, and it's a hazard there. If you run off
Okay.
the road, it's going to throw you in the ditch, so.
Okay.
They put rocks there, but it hadn't,
Probably need to
wash
put some
away.
asphalt.
they wash away. We need something on the shoulder there.
Okay. Okay. Anything else?
Any more questions?
All right.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
So we're now down to item number 8, citizen comments, and we have one person that signed up, and that's Mr. Michael Ray.
Hey, good evening, everyone. First and foremost, if I don't see you on the 20th, I really want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas, and I hope everybody has a good Christmas and get some relaxation in. And I also want to say thanks to Mr. Conwell for bringing up the Allen Road issue on the shoulder. It's definitely a bad spot. One of the big things I just wanted to ask about again was the Planning Commission. I noticed in the newspaper, they have a pretty large meeting coming up soon where they're going to make some decisions on rezoning for a potential travel plaza. And it came back to mind to me that the zoning committee asked months ago for a meeting with this board in relationship to some solar issues. And it's been in the paper now, there's a new meeting to discuss a second issue. I'm just wondering, is this board going to honor that request from the zoning commission? Are you going to meet with them or not meet with them? I hope you see that in the paper sometime soon. The second thing that I would bring up, and I'll say this leading into it, I think that Greensville County, City of Emporia, all the localities, we have some of the finest law enforcement officers that anyone could ask for. But it is incredible to me that we have violence outside of the school that is shutting the schools down, and the kids couldn't, they needed to get back in school after COVID more than anything. And now we have a few people running it for others. And I'm not disappointed because I know that's a school board issue and a law enforcement issue, but I'd like to see it be a topic of discussion for the entire community and people stop putting their heads in the sand, not you guys. I mean, the citizens, it has to be addressed. We have to get the kids back in school, and they got to be in school safely, whatever that takes. It's just incredible that we're holding our kids out of school because some don't know how to behave. That is all I have, and I do thank you for your time. Have a good night.
Under new business, street light request, Liberty Road intersection, that's in your packet under item E. And Lynn Pope, our Director of Planning, will discuss this matter.
Good evening. We had a request for a street light at the intersection of Liberty Road and State Route 301. The Transportation Safety at their last meeting recommended that we approve the installation of the street light at that intersection due to several reasons. One is a poorly lit intersection. It has a lot of traffic, and there's also a lot of pedestrian traffic at that intersection. We were hoping we could utilize an existing pole, but the existing poles there, if we put a light on it, would not light up the intersection. So we're going to have to install an additional pole. That pole will cost $240 to install, and there will be an $18 per month charge for the street light itself. And as I said, Transportation Safety Commission recommended approval.
Need a motion to approve, right?
I move that we approve the street light because this actually directly affects my neighborhood. I see cars there all the time that either are screeching trying to stop to make the turn because they realize they passed the turn. Or I see cars that come down to our street, turn around on the edge, and sometimes you got cars that's like really blowing the horn hard because they about to hit them because they decided to make this quick U-turn in the middle of 301. I constantly see people walking through there all the time, and I hear horns blowing because they about to hit people. So I think this is something that really needs to happen.
I second it.
Been moved in second that we'll approve the street light, Liberty Road intersection. All in favor, roll call vote.
Ms. A. Straub,
Aye.
Mr. Brown,
Aye.
Mr. Kane, Mr. Conwell.
Aye.
Next, we have the Greensville Emporia Transit Title VI Plan. It's in your packet under Attachment F, and Mr. Cyphers is going to give the overview.
As Greensville Emporia Transit is a 5311 transit agency and recipient of state and federal funds via the Department of Rail and Public Transportation, a Title VI plan review is required every 3 years. As Dr. Woolridge mentioned, this is attachment F in your agenda packet. DRPT has contracted with the KFH group to review all Title VI plans for all localities as well as make recommendations. Lynn Parker, Kenny Parker, and myself worked together to revise the plan based on the recommendations for the KFH group. Revisions were minor to include changes in staff members who are now supervising the transit program. Other changes also included narratives in regards to limited English proficiency and how those scenarios will be handled. Are there any questions in regard to the revised Title VI plan, which is attachment F?
No, I actually read it, and it actually is a very good plan.
Thank you.
I move we approve the GET Title VI plan as presented.
Second.
Been moved in second. All in favor, roll call vote.
Ms. A. Straub,
Aye.
Mr. Brown,
Aye.
Mr. Kane, Mr. Conwell.
Aye.
Next, item C, boards and commissions appointment. The first is District 19 Community Services Board. An appointment needs to be made to fill the unexpired term of Colonel Mark Shiflett, which is an at-large appointment beginning November 15, 2021 until June 30, 2024. District 19, they're recommending Colonel Anthony Johnson to replace him.
I agree with that recommendation, and I'm going to move that we appoint Colonel Johnson to that position.
I second that.
Been moved in second. All in favor, roll call vote.
Ms. A. Straub,
Aye.
Mr. Brown,
Aye.
Mr. Kane, Mr. Conwell.
Aye.
Next is Virginia's Growth Alliance. The Board of Supervisors representatives are for a term of 2 years, beginning January 1, 2022, until December 31st, 2023. The recommendation is to reappoint the Honorable Belinda D. A. Strop and Mrs. Natalie Slate, who will serve as my alternate.
I make a motion that we approve Ms. A. Strop and Ms. Slade as an alternate as presented.
Second.
Been moved in second that we'll approve the present appointees. All in favor, roll call vote.
Ms. A. Straub,
Aye.
Mr. Brown,
Aye.
Mr. Kane, Mr. Conwell.
Aye. I move we adjourn to December 8th, 2021 at 5:30 PM for a joint meeting.
Second.
It's been moved in second that we'll adjourn to December the 8th at 5:30 for joint meeting. All in favor, roll call vote.
Ms. A. Straub,
Aye.
Mr. Brown,
Aye.
Mr. Kane, Mr. Conwell.
Aye.
I'd like to make the motion that we go into regular section for water and sewer.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Ms. A. Straub,
Aye.
Mr. Brown,
Aye.
Mr. Kane,
Aye.
Mr. Conwell.
Aye.
A motion for certification of closed meeting of resolution WS 2207.
I move we approve WS 2207 as presented.
Second.
Roll call.
Ms. A. Straub,
Aye.
Mr. Brown,
Aye.
Mr. Kane,
Aye.
Mr. Conwell.
Aye.
Approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Before you make that approval, I make the recommendation that we strike item number 10A, 10 New Business A, the COVID-19 American Rescue Plan Act. Once we get the additional information, we'll bring this back to the board for approval.
I move we approve the agenda as amended.
Second.
Roll call.
Ms. A. Straub,
Aye.
Mr. Brown,
Aye.
Mr. Kane,
Aye.
Mr. Conwell.
Aye.
Approval of the consent agenda.
I move we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Roll call.
Ms. A. Straub,
Aye.
Mr. Brown,
Aye.
Mr. Kane,
Aye.
Mr. Conwell.
Aye.
There is no public meeting. Item with an appointment none, old business none, new business. Resolution WS 2210.
Good evening. Attachment E in your agenda packet is regarding Resolution WS 22-10. The Water and Sewer Authority needs to plan for the replacement of some older water lines. To fund the planning of this project, staff recommends applying for assistance through USDA Rural Development. This resolution is required to apply for the assistance. The funds will be used to develop a preliminary engineering report and an environmental report. The resolution states that the governing body will adopt and abide by all items that are required. The resolution also authorizes the director to execute the documents required to obtain this financial assistance. If there are no questions, staff recommends you adopt Resolution WS 22-10.
I move we approve Resolution WS 22-10 as presented.
Second.
Roll call.
Ms. Astrop?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Kane?
Aye.
Mr. Conway?
Aye.
A motion to adjourn.
So moved.
And second.
Roll call.
Ms. Astrop?
Aye.
Mr. Brown? Mr. Kane?